that funky side guitar music. It comes on every Monday through Friday live at 5 on the Evil Team Network Rumble X YouTube. Check us out, subscribe. Type in iNewsWire on Rumble or all them. Roy Blecker, you get my nice smiling face. It's lots of stuff. I mean, again, the news cycle is just going crazy. Of course, we're going to hold on to after the show on 6. We're going to keep running live on the net on iNewsWire to cover the Trump speech. All sorts of, 65-year-old man charged with sexual battery on 2 young males. Someone stabbed somebody in Murrieta and they can't find them. Lots of interesting and just almost unbelievable more arrests in the SoCal terrorist case. And again, this video goes nuts. People get all bent out of shape about things. ICE agents were out doing their normal ICE agents, Department of Homeland Security. They're all over the place, all over the USA, all over Southern California. Got a job to do. And, everybody's got video cameras, security cameras, cell phones, everything else. No matter what, no matter what you're doing, you're going to be on tape somewhere. So this is an incident. A black truck comes up in a parking lot, clips a guy, and it causes a social media storm. Here is the ABC 7 report.
And hit by a pickup truck going viral. It's now being investigated by Rialto police. It shows a man being chased and hit by a pickup truck and then taken into custody by several unidentified members of law enforcement. Rialto police say they've determined this happened just before noon today along West Foothill Boulevard. Police say they were not notified of any immigration enforcement activity. Now they're trying to locate the driver of that pickup truck.
So the update on the situation is it was Department of Homeland Security. They were pursuing, and eventually apprehended an illegal alien suspect in Rialto. He was running, obviously fleeing them. They did not run him over. It appears from the video that he got clipped by the rearview mirror, which, hang on some trucks can hang out a little bit. But they detained him. That's the situation. Rialto police are investigating, and I don't know what investigation they're going to do, but hey, whatever. But of course it causes a social media storm out there. But really, it's just people doing the jobs they were assigned and paid for to do to keep us safe and all that other stuff. So, good job, Department of Homeland Security. If you're taking care of biz and doing your job, that's what we expect of you. So, no harm so far, no foul in this particular situation. Donald Trump will be rolling in right after 6 o'clock our time, and we will cover his state of the state, well, whatever, addressing the nation about a lot of things. But he is signing an executive order to reclassifying marijuana and basically making it a federal decriminalization, which it should be. Most of the states are on that anyway. And this whole thing is where, because weed is illegal federally, they can't, people like in California where they're selling it, they can't use the banks and stuff, which is absolutely ridiculous. These hodgepodge of laws. So whichever way you're on is pretty much the dam's been broken. Weed is here to stay. And I see that as just, that's what, that's the best path forward, as they say. So we'll see if he addresses that tonight and many, many other things that will be going on. One more interesting part of that, and we'll get into this story in a little bit. A former Marine connected to that SoCal terror plot was arrested, and there's a great, we'll try to get her on tomorrow, but CC Woods has broke the story. One of the first original 4 arrested for her reports, and she said she confirmed them from Cerritos College, as one of those arrested was a former college president at Cerritos College. Student president. Let me make that clear. Student president, not president of that student president of Cerritos College. Musk got a deal. We'll get into this in a bit. Hungary has moved to get rid of, to criminalize these NGOs and other groups that assist illegal aliens. And we should be, and he said wise, we should be implementing that policy in that. The great Ashley Zavala has a follow-up on the great Capitol Annex fraud project of that, and how we're getting screwed by the California legislator out of billions of dollars, replacing an office building for them crooks, corrupt. Well, I shouldn't say that. We just built them a new office building. Got done 3 years ago. Now they're building one with secret tunnels so they don't have to face the public or reporters like Ashley Zavala and stuff. So it's absolutely 1,000% criminal. This whole deal of them going after Trump, Fani Willis, Merrick Garland, Jack Smith, they had no justification for doing it. Their own documents are finally coming out saying it. This whole thing reeks with political prosecution and persecution. And Fanny had to do the race thing. Hopefully we'll get to that clip. This is an interesting one. Mark Mitchell, 60% of voters under 40 think it's likely Venezuela is involved in rigging U.S. elections. I'm almost positive that's going to come up in the Trump address of the nation here in just a few minutes, or no, maybe that, an hour or so, 6 o'clock. And be rest assured, we will stay on the net on IE Newswire, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, X, all that stuff. We'll stay on and cover the Trump address to the nation. Hopefully we'll have Susan Shelley on, as we usually do on a Wednesday, and much, much more on today's show. Yes, it is. Man, some of the hypocrisy that goes on out in that. But what was really fascinating on this whole deal of the Trump prosecutions, it started with the raid on Mar-a-Lago. And I think, if you go back to that back in 2024, 2023, or whenever that happened, DeSantis is the Republican nomination. I mean, Trump was still, it was like 40%, 43, 35 for Trump, 35 for DeSantis. As soon as they arrested Trump at Mar-a-Lago for supposedly having documents that he was entitled to have, Trump started, everybody else was even thinking about it. DeSantis, they put $200 million behind him. He didn't even get out of just barely got out of the Iowa caucuses, and he was done. Everybody else was folding their tent. And people could see that was a political prosecution that was going on. Merrick Garland, Jack Smith. Merrick Garland was told, the Attorney General under Joe Biden, was told by the FBI, we have no just cause for going in and getting these documents. So that really started the Trump train taking off, and everybody started jumping on the bandwagon, and rightly so, because it was BS what they were doing. Fannie Willis is suing him over this, Tish James, all that other stuff. You know, phony this, bogus charges that. But this, your government should not, and is not legally entitled to in the U.S. But even that, when your government starts prosecuting or going after its political opponents, you have a tin horn totalitarian dictatorship. Period. End of story. Jack Smith's testifying behind closed doors. Fannie Willis was before the Georgia Senate today. And old fat Fannie had to mouth off, and of course, she had to turn it to racism. You know, this stuff of just because you've been caught and your skin tone may be a little darker than some others, I think the day of this whole racism stuff, you're crying wolf. You got about, you will be lucky. You will be lucky if you have more credibility than the COVID con people. Hopefully we'll get to that here in a minute too. But here's old Fannie, fat Fannie, at the Georgia Senate hearings when they're putting the interrogation light on the cockroach. Go.
I don't review those documents, so you're asking me to look at documents that I haven't for the first time. What I can tell you is that I allowed Mr. Wade to bill 160 hours a week, and then Mr. Wade would be the first one in the office making sure that my staff arrived. He corrected their behavior. They thought that 8:30 meant 8:30. He taught them that 8:30 means 7:45. He got there before them. He left after him. He taught them how to do this case, and he was a leader to that team and a public servant. And for that, him like me has been threatened thousands of times. You want something to investigate as a legislature? Investigate how many times they've called me the N-word. Why don't you investigate that? Why don't you investigate them writing on my house? Why don't you investigate the fact that my house has been swatted? If you want something to do with your time that makes sense. And you can use all this in your campaign ad. You attacked Fannie Willis.
So she's going on. First, the 160 hours a week was, I'm sure, because there's only 168. I'm sure she meant the month, but everybody's going, well, did she really say that? And you can do that on part of it, but it doesn't look good, I'll give you that, when you misspeak like that, because I don't really think she authorized her boyfriend, which is a whole nother deal. You're outstooping the guy, and you're paying him hundreds of thousands of dollars to go after Trump, when you're the district attorney, Fulton County or whatever, when she was in Georgia. But she had to pull the race. Well, why didn't you investigate them calling me the N-word? Well, you know, I don't really think. I mean, it can sometimes, if you get the intention of a hate crime. But man, when you're political office, you're pretty much fair game, lady. So, but again, she's trying to turn and pull the race card to try to get out of it. No, I'm a tough old broad, you know, trying to act badass. Fannie, Tish, fat Fannie, big Tish James, Merrick Garland, Jack Smith, and a whole host of others. Just in that, hopefully, And this is the big thing. People are waiting. We want to see investigations, indictments, incarcerations. The 3 I's. Yeah, put your case together, investigate. Throw the indictments when you have the evidence as soon as you got the evidence. Put them on trial, convict them, haul their butts to jail. That's what we got to get in this whole thing. This is what we put Trump in here to do, and hopefully he addresses that tonight. Jack Smith was testifying behind closed doors up there at the District of Criminals. And as this says, we'll play the clip, but as it's posted, start holding these people accountable. Hearings are great, talking about it. We want action, action, action.
What I would like to hear from Mr. Smith is the truth. I suspect it's highly unlikely he's interested in an outcome punishing someone he doesn't like. And I think he's going to be held accountable.
So we will see shortly how much they get out of this one. Search for answers on the Hill. A short time from now, former special counsel Jack Smith set to go behind closed doors and face House lawmakers about his investigations into Donald Trump, and we'll see how he answers that.
What is this? Behind closed doors again? It's blatantly ridiculous that these nimrods like this, like this, are walking around free men. They didn't have a case. Especially with FBI said we have no probable cause to be going down to Mar-a-Lago to be raiding Melania's panty drawer. It's stunningly almost beyond belief. Chuck Grassley is putting her out there. Received shocking new docs today from DOJ FBI showing FBI did not believe it had probable cause to raid Trump's Mar-a-Lago home, but the Biden DOJ pushed it anyway. Based on the records, the Mar-a-Lago raid was a miscarriage of justice. It was a political frickin' prosecution. Make no bones about it. That's why this stuff should be out in public. Joshua Hall's reporting. Breaking FBI Director Kash Patel and CIA Director John Radcliffe have just released a trove of documents proving that the FBI tampered with evidence during the raid of President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. They also knew they didn't have probable cause to raid his home in the first place. On top of they didn't have probable cause. Planning and tampering with evidence. But the Biden administration put enormous pressure on them to raid the President Trump's home anyway. A senior Biden official was quoted as saying, "I don't give a shit what the optics look like. we're going after him. It's a political prosecution. Plain and simple. And it's a grand conspiracy. I'm telling you, this... Hopefully we're going to get some more clarity on this here in about 45 minutes. And we shall see if it makes it or not. Because if this has been going on, it isn't even a question. This is a grand conspiracy of epic proportions running into the highest levels of our government, even the President of the United States under Joe Biden. Let me make that clear. Kamala Harris, former Attorney General of California, supposed to be a brilliant lawyer. She didn't know what the hell was going on. Balderdash. Total balderdash. So we really, really, really need to get to a point of prosecution. Here's Maria Bartiromo on Fox News on this case. Here we go.
Yeah, so that famous photograph, what we have now learned, and the government has had, Jack Smith and his prosecutors have had to admit that that was staged, and those top secret classified sheets that all the public saw and said, oh my God, look at those top secret documents, those were placed there by the FBI. What Jack Smith admitted in court this week was that, in his word, they mishandled the classified documents and misrepresented those.
They didn't mishandle nothing. They did not mishandle a thing. This was a coordinated, personal, and political prosecution of Donald J. Trump.
To the court. Maria, that's a kind way of saying we tampered with the evidence, then we lied to the court about it. And they got caught when President Trump's lawyers and the other co-defendants raised this issue and said, look, the documents here don't match up. The documents that were presented to us don't match the digitally scanned records of when they were taken from Mar-a-Lago. And Jack Smith, not only did they tamper with that and lie to the court about it, but he's now admitted to the court that he doesn't know how that happened. He's only offered a number of possible explanations for how that could have happened. So he's absolutely blown the chain of custody. And again, he has a prosecutor, lead prosecutor in this case, Jay Bratt, who met with White House counsel and a representative of the National Archives in several times in the weeks before Jack Smith was even appointed. This reeks of crossfire hurricane when the Obama-Biden administration fabricated evidence before the FISA court, lied to the court about it to pursue Donald Trump, and now we're seeing it again in this classified documents case. The judge could dismiss this case at any point in time.
This was always been the big rumor. Or floated. I gotta believe there's some smoke behind this fire. The FBI, the Comey, Strzok, all these guys, Brennan, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, and the list goes on. We're all scared Trump had crossfire hurricane documents with him. And he may have, but maybe they weren't at Mar-a-Lago, who knows? They thought they were there. That's what they were after. That's why it was a no holds barred. According to the reports, senior Biden administration said, we don't give an S. We're going in. We are raiding Melania's panty drawer or anything else until we find the Crossfire Hurricane documents. Well, seems, or we think, or it's been indicated, they were in the burn bags that hopefully got saved, that were going to be incinerated, that the Trump administration found when they got in charge. Oh, we forgot we put them over here. This whole thing's reeking to high heaven. We may not have had a political case in the U.S. this big. We shall see how all this goes. But again, it's all pointing to that. And these latest revelations that they didn't have probable cause even strengthens more the story. That's what they were looking for, were the Crossfire Hurricane documents that were probably sitting over there in the burn bag department, the FBI, that somebody forgot to or didn't get rid of, and they couldn't find them, and they're looking around and they're saying, oh, maybe Trump must have took them. We better get them before he exposes what the hell's going on. Well, now he may be. If those were some of the documents in the burn area that didn't get burned, incinerated, it's Katie bar the door. And I hope Trump comes out with it. Pam Bondi, or get rid of her, get Harmeet in there, or whomever. If she ain't got the guts enough to do the job, and Todd Blanche is a deputy, get them out of there. Get somebody in there that's going to go after them. I know Harmeet will. She's already proven that with all the case, Second Amendment, everything else, illegals, everything under the Department of Justice. Harmeet Dillon with Bill O'Saley as Deputy Attorney General for the United States. Holy cow. The California crew will California crew will clean freaking house. We shall see if that comes about.
1 minute. 1 minute.
Like I said, that'll go. As Jesse said, we'll be joining the Mighty Met KMET in about a minute. We'll see if Susan Shelley calls in, and we'll proceed from there one way or the other. But no, that's this stuff that's came out. And again, my recommendation is Harmeet Dillon for Attorney General, Bill O'Saley, Deputy Attorney General. That, like I said, that California connection will absolutely fumigate, clean that house up. The District of Criminals, whatever stink's been left by the Biden administration and everything else, up spick and span, and you will see not only investigations.
All right, we're starting in 10 seconds.
Indictments and incarcerations.
Here we go.
Phone app today. IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday, live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire and the aforementioned AM band. Join your vast video audience in the ULP Network, Rumble, X, YouTube. Check us out, subscribe, type in IE Newswire on Rumble, Roy Bleckert, all that good stuff. The whole deal in Rialto about now it's Department of Homeland Security was chasing the illegal alien. He was running, fleeing, it appears. They clipped him with the rearview mirror of their pickup truck. He fell down a little bit and tried running off. They apprehended him, caused a firestorm on social media for really no reason. Department of Homeland Security doing their job that we're paying them to do to keep us safe. And return order to the United States of America, California, the Inland Empire, and all points in between. So, unless there's something else to this, good job, Department of Homeland Security. Rialto Police Department is investigating, and I'm sure they're really working on that case. And we shall see where it comes out, but from what I can tell, they're doing the job we're paying them to do, and we asked them to do, and what we voted Trump in to do. Speaking of that, Trump will be on at the top of the hour at 6 o'clock. We're going to hold over and keep on the net. After we leave the KMET, we will stay on and give you live, and maybe even throw in a comment or two on whatever Trump's going to address. Hopefully it's all this we talked about in the first part. The stuff that's breaking. Fat Fannie Willis, Big Tish James, Jack Smith. All these cats are being strewn out for the political prosecutions that I don't see how you spin it, can see it any other way, of Donald J. Trump. And especially with the Jack Smith case and what's been breaking out with Merrick Garland and the FBI. Under the Biden administration, the FBI said we have no probable cause to go in there, to raid or get a warrant. They said senior officials have said, in the Biden administration, has said, we don't give an ish, you're going in there anyway. And it's always been rumored that they were looking for the Crossfire Hurricane documents that may have been saved by the Trump administration from the burn bag department at the FBI. That the Biden administration on down, and Hillary Clinton and Comrade Kamala and all these guys, Comey and Strzok and all these yo-yos, Brennan, they didn't know what happened to the Crossfire Hurricane documents. Nobody could account for them. So they thought Trump...
Susan's on the line, ready to go.
They thought Trump was out there. They thought Trump had the Crossfire Hurricane documents, or that's what's been long speculated about. And they couldn't find them. They get it down Trump, raiding Melania's panties drawer and everything else and looking all over, and they can't find them. Well, fortunately, I think, or it's been rumored, some of them, or maybe all of them, were found at the FBI in the burn bag department and recovered by the Trump administration. So it's going to be, we'll see what happens with Trump's address here in a little less than a half hour. But as we usually do on a Wednesday, we have the famed editorial writer, columnist for the Press Enterprise, San Bernardino Sun, Inland Daily Bulletin, Redlands Daily Facts. More important to me, Vice President of Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, Susan Shelley. Welcome to iNewsWire with Roy.
Thank you, Roy. Great to be with you.
So what do you think? Do you think that my synopsis is correct? And it's been rumored the FBI, the government, Joe Biden on down were looking for the Crossfire Hurricane documents that were missing, supposedly found in the burn department when Trump came back in. That's what their target was, because it appears from the evidence that's coming out now. They had no probable cause. They didn't care. They were looking for something. If it isn't that, they better cop to what it was or something. Because this thing is, I think, this may be the biggest political persecution of anybody of all time. What do you say, Susan Shelley?
Well, you're certainly right about that. And if they were looking for the Crossfire Hurricane documents, that does explain why they wanted to search everywhere. The other thing that that's a possibility, is that they just wanted to have President Trump look like a criminal. And they wanted that in August of 2022, I think this was, just before he announced, or maybe it was just after he announced, I can't remember, that he was going to run for re-election. And there were all these other Republicans at the time who were thinking of running and who were doing very well, and the donors were kind of flocking to them, and some people in the Republican Party, as there have always been, some people in the Republican Party didn't like Trump, didn't want him to be president, didn't want him to be the nominee, and they were looking at other candidates at the time. And I think that the Biden White House, maybe Jill in particular, thought that if they made him look like a criminal with the flashing lights and all this other inappropriate stuff for the type of search that this was, and by the way, he had a total right to keep those documents, Presidential Records Act. That's another story. I think they thought if they made him look like a criminal and they created this video, that it would help all the other candidates and it would sink Trump, because maybe they thought they couldn't beat him again. Maybe they knew what it took to beat him the first time in 2020, and they didn't think they could do that again because there was no COVID pandemic to allow all the fraud that they used. So you can't rule out the possibility that the whole thing was staged just for the political video of it.
In one respect, I'm glad they did it because, as you said, DeSantis was in there. He had 200 million behind him. He was close. I mean, Trump was still leading the polls like 45. DeSantis was like in the high 30s. After they raided that was the turning point. After they raided Mar-a-Lago, after they raided Mar-a-Lago, it was the Republican primary was essentially over. I mean, DeSantis with the 200 million behind her. I mean, after the Iowa caucus, he was done, and I don't know who lingered on for one or two more primaries. But that was basically it. People could see through that. Now we're getting concrete proof of this. And what I said, we got to go after the 3 I's. Investigation, okay. Indictments, incarceration. And if Pam Bondi can't get the job done in Tom Blanche, I mean, I say get the California crew. This crew will do it. Put Harmeet Dillon in as Department of Justice and Bill Asaley as Deputy Director of DOJ, and they'll go in there and go after it. They will charge. They will go to and they've proven, they will go to the ends of the earth to get this stuff done. And if Bondi and the crew over there, who's over there isn't, Trump needs to have those guys out before January 1. And if it isn't Harmeet and Bill or whomever that's going to go after these clowns, and I'll be nice, because this is getting beyond. If we let this happen, we are going to be the worst tin-whore dictatorship, communist, whatever country that you've ever seen, Susan Shelley.
I completely agree with you, but we have to go after the people who ordered it, because there are probably people who were working for the FBI who were doing stuff they wouldn't have ordered themselves because they didn't want to lose their jobs. Getting those people doesn't help us. We have to go after Merrick Garland, who okayed the thing in the first place, and anyone else in leadership or in elected office who approved this. Those are the people I want to see in handcuffs. I want to see Joe Biden and Merrick Garland explaining what they knew and when they knew it and what they ordered.
Yes, they need to be put under oath. Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, Brennan, and in fact, they should have them all. I don't like this Jack Smith with the closed door meetings. No, subpoena them all up at Congress, and I don't care. Let's make the Watergate hearings look like a 30-second TV commercial. Keep it every day.
That would be good.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that would be good. Well, sometimes you have these hearings. I've been disappointed so many times in hearings, the Whitewater hearings and the various other hearings, because the Democrats all act like defense lawyers. So the Republicans can speak for 5 minutes or whatever, and the witnesses filibuster. And then the Democrats take over for 5 minutes, and they just block all questions of substance and change the subject. And then the Republicans ask a question, and the witnesses filibuster. It's very frustrating. So if Jim Jordan thinks that he can use the Judiciary Committee process behind closed doors to get Jack Smith under oath on the record, that might be the most useful. in the long run. I agree with you that it's frustrating that we can't see it, but they will release the transcript eventually, and we will see it. And
Well,
it might be better for a prosecution if they do it this way.
and it could be, but I mean, they've got it. I guess what my frustration is they've got to move quickly, because we don't have time to wait.
Mm-hmm.
The elections are coming up here. We're going to start into 26 in the midterms and all this, and if we let them off the hook on this, potentially, they could come back in power, and then you talk about records and everything getting gone. There won't be a stitch of paper or a computer or something left in the District of Criminals. They'll burn them all. And I mean, that's what I say.
You're right.
They don't have much time to waste screwing around with this. Like I said, if Congress ain't getting it done, or the Senate can't get it done, or Bondi and crew can't get it done, get some people in there that can. Again, that's my frustration is the wheels need to be moving more quickly, Susan.
Well, I agree with you, and this has been going on for a long time. The Republicans always seem to do Twitter feeds and hearings, and they never seem to actually get anybody in handcuffs. And this is very frustrating to all of us, because what was done to President Trump is absolutely criminal. This was an effort to poison his first administration through lies and propaganda and illegal spying, and it's possible that the people who did this were so knowledgeable about how not to have it proven against them that they made it hard to prosecute. That's possible. That they were so crafty that they were within technically the law in the way that they proceeded, even though in the wider picture they were not within the law. It may be that they made it very hard to prosecute. I'm not sure why it's taking so long to have accountability. But this is very frustrating, and if the Democrats were able to find a way to win the presidency again, you're absolutely right. They would shred and burn everything.
Speaking of accountability, we'll switch gears and get to your column. Costly incompetence. Audit uncovers more California mismanagement. Susan Shelley.
Yes, the California State Auditor, this is one of the best offices in California. They do reports on the various high-risk programs, agencies, and issues in California. And high risk is defined as a high probability or evidence of waste, fraud, abuse, and mismanagement, or inefficiency and lack of economy, and essentially that describes the entire government. But they have 8 particular things that they're watching. It used to be 7, now it's 8. The one they just added is the food stamps program, because the federal government changed the law. And now California is about to be penalized for its payment error rate. The government wants the states to have an error rate of under 6%. And California has been as high as 13.4%. And currently we're at about 11%. And that's enough, under the new law, the One Big Beautiful Bill, for California to be forced to pay $2.5 billion as part of the cost of providing these food stamp benefits, because they are not accurately determining eligibility for the benefits. In other words, fraud. That's interesting.
I'm beginning to think our whole government is becoming a fraud, the way things are going on this. And I mean, it's not something that we didn't already know or suspect or anything. But we never, let's say lately, we haven't had, like with what's going on in the District of Criminals and what's going on in the Scoundrels in Sacramento. We haven't had this much evidence to come out, and it's so overwhelming and broad. I don't see how they can get around doing it in this. And again, my part of it is this is a microcosm of California. Don't let it spread across the other 49 states. Because this is a problem when you get one party rule, and especially one kook party rule that we got, just a bunch of nuts up there. And they're not scared. They're not afraid. They don't really care. Because they've been getting away with it so long, they think they're untouchable, Susan.
Yes, they do think they're untouchable. And, one-party government, absolute power, corrupts absolutely. And what they're doing, it appears, is they're not verifying eligibility for benefits, whether it's unemployment benefits or food stamp benefits or Medi-Cal or any kind of social services benefits. And this is, in a state that has a huge population of illegal immigrants, this is of concern because in many cases, people who are here without documentation are not entitled to some of these benefits, but the state of California doesn't want to talk about that. They just want to shove the money out and then hide the records and fail to accurately determine eligibility. And when you look at how many tax increases are being proposed up and down the state and statewide, this is very expensive for the people of California. This is not a free lunch that they're distributing here. This is something that everybody has to pay for more and more every year. And California is already unaffordable, and companies are already leaving the state and taking jobs with them. And why are we doing this? Why are we paying for fraud and for people who are not eligible to receive benefits, or for people who are fictional to receive benefits in some giant fraud scheme, which seems to be what's happening with the national program, Obamacare? They have these enhanced subsidies, which I wrote about in one of my columns, and they are expiring at the end of this year, and this is what the big fight with shutting down the government was about. The Democrats wanted to continue these subsidies, but these subsidies have resulted in tons of people signing up for Obamacare. It turns out they're not actually people. This is just a series of payments that are being made to the insurance companies with your tax dollars, and people are collecting commissions on these policies that are being signed up, and there are no people. And so they know there are no people because there are no claims. So they've got people with insurance who are making no claims. Now, some people don't make claims, granted, but about half the people, about 6 million people roughly, have signed up, and they're making no claims, and it's very likely that they're just completely fraudulent. And that's what the Democrats want to keep hidden, and that's what the Republicans want to expose.
Sounds almost like the $30 billion in unemployment fraud that we went through in the COVID con around here. I mean, this stuff just never ends, Susan.
It's true. Well, if the government's going to give out giant checks to people who fill out forms, people are going to figure out how to fill out forms and get that money, even if they're not entitled to it. And that's the story of our refundable tax credits. We have $15.9 billion a year in improper payments, the federal government calls it, in connection with the Earned Income Tax Credit. Now, this is a tax credit that people can get if they work some but not much, and they have kids, and depending on the numbers, it can be quite a lot of money. It can be thousands of dollars a year in tax credits, which are paid as tax refunds to people who didn't pay in any taxes, but they call it a tax refund. It's just a welfare check. Well, there's $15.9 billion a year in improper payments. 28.5% of the payments they make are improper. That's the rate. 28.5%. The IRS has to track this every year. What are we doing? This is crazy.
That's a way nicer word than I would put it on that. Your other column, end of enhanced subsidies will protect taxpayers from waste and fraud, Susan Shelley.
Yes, this is the big fight over whether Obamacare subsidies that are increased as of 2021, and they were temporary for COVID, this is the argument over whether they will be allowed to expire or not. Now, all that's happening here, if they expire, is we're going back to original Obamacare, which provided subsidies, but not as much and not to as many people. And the enhanced subsidies took off the income cap, so lots more people could get these subsidized policies. And it costs a lot of money, and it was always supposed to be temporary. But this is the same problem where people are defrauding it by signing people up who either don't know they're being signed up or signing up fictional people and getting a big commission on it because they're shady brokers. They get a big commission, and then the insurance companies are making out like bandits because they get the payment for the premiums from the federal government, and nobody is there to file a claim. So this looks like it's a backdoor subsidy for the insurance companies, making them rich. Why are we doing this? The Republicans want to end it. The Democrats want to continue it. Some of the Republicans want to continue it. I'm not sure why. Some of the Republicans don't care if it's fraudulent, I guess. They just don't want to be. They don't want to be blamed for taking away the health care of whatever. But if it's fraud and it's fiction, it can't continue. It's not sustainable to have a giant welfare safety net for fictional people. That's not sustainable.
We had about a minute left. Tell them why they should join HJTA Go.
The Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association is fighting for you in the courts, in the legislature, and on the ballot. And right now, you can get the petition to save Proposition 13 more important than ever because it's under attack in the courts. This is really becoming a crisis. It's erasing your Prop 13 rights city by city by city. So in order to stop this from happening, we have an initiative for the November 2026 ballot, and you can get a copy of it and print it on your own home printer, or we will mail it to you. Go to saveprop13.com. Saveprop13.com. Print the petition, fill it out, sign it, mail it back to us. We need 1 million signatures by the middle of February. We're on track. Please help. SaveProp13.com from the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association.
Thanks for being on, Susan. We'll do it again next week.
Thank you so much, Roy.
You got it, Susan Shelley, Vice President of Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. Please join that organization. It's about the only one left that's looking out for us to help us against this fraud of that end columnist extraordinaire for the Southern California News Group. Man. The news just seems like it just keeps piling on. More every day. We haven't even got to the Capitol Hill and the whole fraud stuff going on. Maybe we'll get to that Thursday or Friday and get even more in depth of that. Something else. But we'll see what Trump has in store here in a few minutes. And again, those of you on the net, hang on, because we're gonna roll in after we leave the Mighty Met KMET. We're gonna roll into the Trump address of the nation, hopefully, and we'll see how that shakes out, see what he has to say. And in the Trump style, he will, I'm sure, he will be brief at probably an hour and a half or so, as only Donald J. can. We'll roll into some of the local genre, as we say. PSA from your San Jacinto Sheriff's Station. Cousin Eddie, who's in San Jacinto visiting the Griswolds, but ditched his motorhome on the way out of town. Please drive safe this holiday season and don't be like Cousin Eddie. So some good humor from the San Jacinto cops over there. Doorstep bloodbath, Murrieta stabbing, suspect at large. Police seeking the public help, so locating a suspect. Guy just walks up and stabs somebody out there. Things are getting nuts. They're still looking for the suspect. You read the story on IN. If you have any information, contact the Murrieta Police Department. Another horrific story. Mark Wilkes arrested for sexual battery of young males, 2 teenagers. Holy cow. That more arrests in that IE spirit-led cult, religious deal going on, the spans from Hemet, Claremont, Redlands, Colton. Tim Thomas, the 4-year-old, 10, 15 years ago was murdered. 2 more murder charges filed against both of them, and the missing man, I think that was in Hemet, all that stuff. Like you say, Kat Martin and her husband arrested for the murders of Emilio Gaham and Timothy Timo Thomas. That was a 4-year-old from Colton a couple decades ago. This stuff is, again, we just have all the crazy stuff. Terrorist alert. We'll see if Trump addresses the whole Venezuelan election fraud deal, crooked elections. If I was betting the farm, I would say that's going to come up as El Presidente addresses the nation here in a couple minutes. Like I said, we on IEN on the net, on all our platforms. Hopefully, we'll have Donald J. coming on, and we will cover that, which I'm sure will probably run about 23 and a half hours. Since Trump hasn't addressed the nation like this in a long time, and we all know how, well, let's say, how brief he can be. It should be fun. Hope he gets a lot of this stuff like that. Investigate, incarcerate. Hope we're changing some people up. People want to see action. They want to see, that's what we elected Trump to do. And with the stuff coming out, I don't see why we're not getting that. But we'll find out what he has to say here in a few minutes. I'll leave it for today. Release on KMET. Mandatory you're back here 23 hours wide. You're the best darn show in the whole wide world. Till then, see ya. And for everybody else, hang on. We'll have Donald Trump.
All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
You got it. So we're signing off on the Mighty Met KMET. As we usually do, we're going to wait for Donald J. He's supposed to come on at 6 o'clock. But if it's usual, if you're on Trump time, who knows? It might be 6:30, 7 o'clock before he gets to it. He's addressing the nation. I think they'll have him on time of that. I didn't get to Susie Wiles a little bit. She will have him on time if nothing else. Is one thing. She is prompt and all that. The whole situation with her, and maybe we'll address it tomorrow. Didn't get to it today. Oh, I went to on Vanity Fair and all this stuff, and they're doing that. I ain't buying that at all for any reason. But hopefully with the Trump speech coming up, addressing the nation, live and in living color, as they say, hopefully we'll get a lot more clarification on what's going on and what the plans are moving forward for the United States of America moving forward in 26. And I will say this again, the biggest thing I see every time is people's angst. They want this stuff fixed. Grocery prices down. Energy, well, gas prices are down, but electricity down. Housing prices. Drill, baby, drill. Build, baby, build. As far as housing. The whole thing. They're still, like the border secured, they're still with them on that. The other stuff, people are impatient. I get it. I would like to see things moving faster, and as we talked with Susan Shelley here in a bit, or just in a bit, the angst of the American people are, hey, we're tired of hearing the talking. And this is especially, and again, I feel sorry for those, especially 45 or under. You talk to, and they are. They're not going to have the opportunity my generation had. And generations before me had. They're really the first generation in America, those probably under 40, 45 years old, that are looking at a future they're not even looking at the same, they're looking at a declining future. And that's not good. for a whole host of reasons. And I'd be pissed off too if that happened. If their solution is electing people like Mamdani and whatever, we're going to put Democrats in there. But just look how California's turned out with those policies. It's going to get 10 times worse. But I get the frustration, and they have, I believe, or the outlook is, their outlook is that, and they're so frustrated they don't care. If you're not getting the job done, we're just going to switch it up and take our chances. Which I get. I mean, they're like going, well, Biden was screwing us, Obama was screwing us, George W. Bush, back how far you want to go. I mean, we've seen a little improvement with Trump 1, but then things went haywire with the COVID con and everything. So, it's
allowed to happen to our country.
Here we go.
And it can never be allowed to happen again. We had men playing in women's sports, transgender for everybody, crime at record levels with law enforcement, and words such as that just absolutely forbidden. We had the worst trade deals ever made, and our country was laughed at from all over the world. But they're not laughing anymore. Over the past 11 months, we have brought more positive change to Washington than any administration in American history. There's never been anything like it, and I think most would agree. I was elected in a landslide, winning the popular vote and all 7 swing states and everything else, with a mandate to take on a sick and corrupt system that really just took the wealth from people and crushed the dreams of the American people. For the last 4 years, the United States was ruled by politicians who fought only for insiders, illegal aliens, career criminals, corporate lobbyists, prisoners, terrorists, and above all, foreign nations, which took advantage of us at levels never seen before. They flooded your cities and towns with illegal aliens. They decimated your hard-earned savings. They indoctrinated your children with hate for America. They just released a level of violent felons that we had never seen to prey on innocent. They caused war. They caused mayhem. They caused a horrible situation all over the globe. But now you have a president who fights for the law-abiding, hardworking people of our country, the ones who make this nation run, who make this nation work. And after just 1 year, we have achieved more than anyone could have imagined. Starting on day 1, I took immediate action to stop the invasion of our southern border. For the past 7 months, 0 illegal aliens have been allowed into our country, a feat which everyone said was absolutely impossible. Do you remember when Joe Biden said that he needed Congress to pass legislation to help close the border? He was always blaming Congress and everyone else. As it turned out, we didn't need legislation. We just needed a new president. We inherited the worst border anywhere in the world, and we quickly turned it into the strongest border in the history of our country. In other words, in a few short months, we went from worst to best. We're deporting criminals, restoring safety to our most dangerous cities. Just take a look at Washington, D.C. It's at levels of safety that we've never seen before. And they decimated the bloodthirsty foreign drug cartels. We did that all by ourselves with our people, and we're so proud of it because they were poisoning and destroying our population. Drugs brought in by ocean and by sea are now down 94%. We have broken the grip of sinister woke radicals in our schools, and control over those schools is back now in the hands of our great and loving states where education belongs. After rebuilding the United States military in my first term, and with the addition we are adding right now, we have the most powerful military anywhere in the world, and it's not even close. I've restored American strength, settled 8 wars in 10 months, destroyed the Iran nuclear threat, and ended the war in Gaza, bringing for the first time in 3,000 years peace to the Middle East, and secured the release of the hostages, both living and dead. Here at home, we're bringing our economy back from the brink of ruin. The last administration and their allies in Congress looted our Treasury for trillions of dollars, driving up prices and everything at levels never seen before. I am bringing those high prices down and bringing them down very fast. Let's look at the facts. Under the Biden administration, car prices rose 22% and in many states 30% or more. Gasoline rose 30 to 50%. Hotel rates rose 37%. Airfares rose 31%. Now under our leadership, they are all coming down and coming down fast. Democrat politicians also sent the cost of groceries soaring, but we are solving that too. The price of a Thanksgiving turkey was down 33% compared to the Biden last year. The price of eggs is down 82% since March, and everything else is falling rapidly. And it's not done yet, but boy, are we making progress. Nobody can believe what's going on. Here are just some of the efforts that we have underway. You will see in your wallets and bank accounts in the new year. After years of record-setting falling incomes, our policies are boosting take-home pay at a historic pace. Under Biden, real wages plummeted by $3,000. Under Trump, the typical factory worker has seen a wage increase of $1,300. For construction workers, it's $1,800. For miners, we're bringing back clean, beautiful coal. It's $3,300. And for the first time in years, wages are rising much faster than inflation. Remember that. The wages, just look at it. Wages are going up much faster than inflation. How big is that? Very importantly, there are more people working today than at any time in American history, and 100% of all jobs created since I took office have been in the private sector. Think of that. 100% of all jobs have been in the private sector rather than government, which is the only way to make a country powerful and great. This historic trend will continue. Already, I've secured a record-breaking $18 trillion of investment into the United States, which means jobs, wage increases, growth, factory openings, and far greater national security. Much of this success has been accomplished by tariffs. My favorite word, tariffs, which for many decades have been used successfully by other countries against us, but not anymore. Companies know that if they build in America, there are no tariffs, and that's why they're coming home to the USA in record numbers. They're building factories and plants at levels we haven't seen, AI, automobiles. We're doing what nobody thought was even possible, not even remotely possible. There has never, frankly, been anything like it. 1 year ago, our country was dead. We were absolutely dead. Our country was ready to fail, totally failed. Now, we're the hottest country anywhere in the world, and that's said by every single leader that I've spoken to over the last 5 months. Next year, you will also see the results of the largest tax cuts in American history that were really accomplished through our great, big, beautiful bill, perhaps the most sweeping legislation ever passed in Congress. We wrapped 12 different bills up into one beautiful bill. That includes no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. Under these cuts, many families will be saving between $11,000 and $20,000 a year, and next spring is projected to be the largest tax refund season of all time. Because of tariffs, along with the just passed One Big Beautiful Bill, tonight I am also proud to announce that more than 1,450,000, think of this, 1,450,000 military service members will receive a special, we call Warrior Dividend before Christmas, a Warrior Dividend. In honor of our nation's founding in 1776, we are sending every soldier $1,776. Think of that. And the checks are already on the way. Nobody understood that one until about 30 minutes ago. We made a lot more money than anybody thought because of tariffs, and the bill helped us along. Nobody deserves it more than our military, and I say congratulations to everybody. And by the way, we now have record enlistment in our military, and last year we had among the worst recruitment numbers in our military's history. What a difference a year makes. In addition, I'm doing what no politician of either party has ever done, standing up to the special interests to dramatically reduce the price of prescription drugs. I negotiated directly with the drug companies and foreign nations, which were taking advantage of our country for many decades, to slash prices on drugs and pharmaceuticals by as much as 400, 500, and even 600%. In other words, your drug costs will be plummeting downward, and I used the threat of tariffs to get foreign countries who would never have done it to pay the cost of this giant dollar reduction. They stopped ripping us off, and it began as of 4 days ago. There has never been anything like this in the history of our country. Drugs have only gone up, but now they'll be going down by numbers never conceived possible. It's called most favored nation, and no president has ever had the courage or ability to get this done until now. The first of these unprecedented price reductions will be available starting in January through a new website, trumprx.gov. And these big price cuts will greatly reduce the cost of health care. I'm also taking on the gigantic health insurance companies that have gotten rich on billions of dollars of money that should go directly to the people. The money should go to the people, that's you, so they can buy their own health insurance, which will give far better benefits at much lower costs. It will be far better health insurance. The current Unaffordable Care Act was created to make insurance companies rich. It was bad health care at much too high a cost, and you see that now in the steep increase in premiums being demanded by the Democrats, and they are demanding those increases, and it's their fault. It is not the Republicans' fault. It's the Democrats' fault. It's the Unaffordable Care Act, and everybody knew it. Again, I want the money to go directly to the people so you can buy your own health care. You'll get much better health care at a much lower price. The only losers will be insurance companies that have gotten rich, and the Democrat Party, which is totally controlled by those same insurance companies. They will not be happy, but that's okay with me, because you, the people, are finally going to be getting great health care at a lower cost. Another major focus is the cost of energy. For years, the radical left Democrats exploited the green energy scam as an excuse to funnel many billions of dollars into their own massive slush funds, as their energy restrictions drastically drove up prices, and they drove them up at record levels. Electricity costs surged 30 to 100% under Biden, and the typical family lost $5,000 to $10,000 in higher energy costs. Think of that, $5,000 to $10,000 you lost. On day one, I declared a national energy emergency. Gasoline is now under $2.50 a gallon in much of the country. In some states, it, by the way, just hit $1.99 a gallon. And within the next 12 months, we will have opened 1,600 new electrical generating plants, a record, and it's a record that won't be beaten by practically, I would say, by anybody, or certainly not very soon. Prices on electricity and everything else will fall dramatically. The Democrat inflation disaster, again, the worst in the history of our country, also robbed millions of Americans of home ownership and indeed the American dream. The yearly cost of a typical new mortgage increased by $15,000 under Democrat rule. In 11 months, we've already gotten that annual cost down by $3,000, and it's coming down a lot lower. Wait till you see. The numbers are going to be shocking. And I'll soon announce our next chairman of the Federal Reserve, someone who believes in lower interest rates by a lot, and mortgage payments will be coming down even further. Early, the new year, and you will see this, in the new year I will announce some of the most aggressive housing reform plans in American history. A major factor in driving up housing costs was the colossal border invasion. We have never been invaded. This is the worst thing that, frankly, in my opinion, the worst thing that the Biden administration did to our country is the invasion at the border. The last administration and their allies in Congress brought in millions and millions of migrants and gave them taxpayer-funded housing while your rent and housing costs skyrocketed. Over 60% of growth in the rental market came from foreign migrants. At the same time, illegal aliens stole American jobs and flooded emergency rooms, getting free health care and education paid for by you, the American taxpayer. They also increased the cost of law enforcement by numbers so high that they are not even to be mentioned. For the first time in 50 years, we are now seeing reverse migration as migrants go back home, leaving more housing and more jobs for Americans. In the year before my election, all net creation of jobs was going to foreign migrants. Since I took office, 100% of all net job creation has gone to American-born citizens, 100%. In the end, government either serves the productive, patriotic, hardworking American citizen, or it serves those who break the laws, cheat the system, and seek power and profit at the expense of our nation. Look at Minnesota, where Somalians have taken over the economics of the state and have stolen billions and billions of dollars from Minnesota and indeed from the United States of America. And we're going to put an end to it. For so long as before my election, the vast majority of good and decent Americans were forced to watch as corrupt politicians plundered the halls of power, exploited our taxpayers, and pillaged every system that makes civilized society function. But not anymore, and you see that every day, not anymore. We're putting America first, and we are making America great again. Very simple. We are making America great again. Tonight, after 11 months, our border is secure. Inflation is stopped. Wages are up. Prices are down. Our nation is strong. America is respected. And our country is back, stronger than ever before. We're poised for an economic boom, the likes of which the world has never seen. Soon we will host the World Cup and the Olympics, both of which I got. But most importantly, we will celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. There could be no more fitting tribute to this epic milestone than to complete the comeback of America that began just 1 year ago. When the world looks at us next year, let them see a nation that is loyal to its citizens, faithful to its workers, confident to its identity, certain to its destiny, and the envy of the entire globe. We are respected again like we have never been respected before. To each and every one of you, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. God bless you all.
That was unusually short for Mr. Trump out there. A couple of the things, I like the 1776 for the military. That was a great shot. He listed all the great things that were done and all the progress that is made, and kudos to that. I still think we needed to hear, the only thing I would have liked to hear is, what are we doing in 26? What's the plan moving forward? That's what I believe what the American people want to hear. We'll deal with this more, obviously, on tomorrow's show, and we'll see how it all shakes out. But in all, that's 20 minutes from Trump. It's got to be a record. Usually he's just warming up at 20 minutes. And I really wish, though, and the only other thing I would say, don't have Trump read stuff off the teleprompter. Let Trump be Trump. We need Trump like Trump was at the rallies. That's where he's at his most effective public speaking. But we'll deal with this more as tomorrow as she shakes out. So we are going to sign off on iNewsWire for tonight. So we will see you tomorrow.
There's a lot. And then that's everybody, not just in uniform, but everybody that supports the military, I think,
Yeah,
as
I
well.
don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe it's everybody in uniform. But I'll have to look that up to see how many. I'll bet there are. That's a great whip around. How many people are in the U.S. military? I would say 10 million.
I think he
people.
said 1.4 million.
Okay,
Active
1.4.
duty.
Okay, active duty soldiers. That might be right. Okay, so if it's 1.4, let's see how much money's walking out the door here. 1.4, and they deserve it.
You know what? Go up to 2 million because that includes. I'm assuming that he's also including National Guard and reserves.
Okay.
So that would be another 3/4. So make it 2 million. Sorry.
2 million multiplied by 1,776 equals 3,552,000,000. So about 3 times our lottery tonight. 3 times our lottery. $3,552,000,000 are going to the military. Man, do they deserve that. So what do you do with a check when you get it for 1776? Do you blow it in the country you're serving in, or do you put it away, or do you spend it on, I don't know, you can't spend it on blow and hookers. That'll get you thrown out of the military. You can't spend it on weed. You can't smoke weed when you're in the military, can you? I don't think you can.
Do they test for that?
I think they do. I bet they drug test the military. Sure they should. I guarantee you they test all the pilots, 100%. Because I know whenever there's an accident, they test, they bleed and pee. That's what they test. The urine and the blood. In any accident, you have an accident in the military that involves any kind of aircraft or watercraft, a tank, whatever it is.
Yeah, they have a zero tolerance. They typically test for a 26 drug panel.
Wow.
Test.
And how often? Is it random or? I'll bet you don't want to get caught on the high end of those 26. You know. Good night. Doesn't matter how high you are in the military. You get caught and it's over. You know, I knew a guy who was LAPD. No, I'm sorry. He was in sheriffs, LA sheriffs. And he smoked weed his whole life when he was a kid. You know, he smoked weed in high school and college. And then when he went into the sheriff's department, they said, if you smoke weed again, you're out. And he quit smoking weed for 32 years. 32 years, never had a hit of a joint or a bong load or a pipe or anything. And then the moment he retired and got out, he bought a massive bong, like a 3-foot glass bong, and got back into it. But to be able to stop for 32 years, man, that is some kind of self-control.
So the typical requirement for the military is they take 10% of all of them on a monthly basis.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, 10% random picks of all the military each month.
Okay, so in 10 years, you can test them all.
If they're in that long, yeah.
Yeah.
You could theoretically go through and not get tested at all.
That's, well, yeah, you could go 30 years without being tested. You know, if it's random.
Well, I mean, no, because I guess in 10 months, it's 100%. And I don't know if, like, once you've been tested, you kick out until everybody gets tested.
Yeah, I bet there are a lot of guys that, you know, they're buying urine. Because that's a difficult job, you know, to be in the military. And you're overseas, and you don't want to get too high. But...
Yeah, it's kind of hard to imagine that they don't.
Yeah.
I mean, that...
Well, look, I mean, every, you know, movie you've ever seen of Vietnam, they're always smoking weed. That's all they did.
Yeah, I wonder when they started putting that in place.
That's right. Not in Vietnam. Yeah. Maybe we would have won that one if it wasn't for the bong and the joint. But that was, it was a 20-minute speech. And Crozier's right. The big takeaway from that is the military is getting $1,776. And the checks are on the way, so they're going to get them before the holiday.
That's what they say. The military drug testing began in 1971.
Really?
Nixon, yeah.
Okay, so right after Vietnam. Vietnam ended, what, 67, 68 was the Saigon?
72-3.
Oh, it was that late?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because it went on through, because it was still going with Nixon. And
Oh, that's right. I'm like Nick Bargatze. He says whenever he watches a documentary, he's at the edge of the couch. It's like, wow, look at that. What happened in Vietnam? What happened in, Beirut? Oh, my God, what happened at Pearl Harbor? Wow, that really happened at Pearl Harbor? Wow! Yeah, the only guy in the theater going, whoa, when he watches a documentary.
That's amazing.
Wow, you see that ship sank? What do they call it? The Titanic? It went down.
Really? That happened?
Wait a minute, people died on that? Wow, I didn't know that. All right, we got to take a break here. It is the Conway Show. The president's speech is over, and we're live on KFI More Now with Crow.
The son of director Rob Reiner's appeared in court to face charges of murdering his parents. Nick Reiner did not enter a plea this morning.
So with that, we are set for January 7th for an arraignment. That's the next court date, and that's all I have to say at this point. There may be more at some other point, but today we're going to rest on where we stand procedurally, which is this was a continuance of arraignment.
Defense lawyer Alan Jackson told reporters outside court to avoid a rush to judgment in the case. Reiner was charged yesterday with first-degree murder plus special circumstances that make him eligible for the death penalty. The DA's office says it hasn't decided yet whether they will ask for that. President Trump, as you just heard right here on KFI, has addressed the nation from the White House, saying the U.S. has gone from being one of the worst countries under the Biden administration to being one of the best, or the best. He says no illegal immigrants have been allowed in during the first year of his second term. He says pay rates are also increasing.
Wages are going up much faster than inflation. How big is that? Very importantly, there are more people working today than at any time in American history.
The speech this evening comes as polls show most Americans are frustrated with Trump on all aspects of his presidency, including the economy, tariffs, and the low job rate. The CDC says the number of flu cases is now topping 3 million across the country, and that's expected to go up as winter gets underway. Pediatrician Dr. Darian Sutton says it's important to understand the threat of the virus.
It's not just a small cold. It can be exceptionally dangerous for older adults, pregnant mothers, and children especially.
CDC says only about 40% of kids got their flu shot this year. That's down 10% compared to 2019. And Buck Rogers, the star of an iconic 70s science fiction show, has passed.
Gil Gerard, known for Buck Rogers in the 25th century, has died at the age of 82. The Hollywood Reporter says Gerard lived in Georgia and died of a rare and viciously aggressive form of cancer, according to his wife Janet. Gerard did more than 400 commercials before his first break on the soap opera The Doctors in 1973. His Buck Rogers was first featured in a lighthearted movie developed in the wake of Star Wars, then ran as a TV series from 1979 to 81. One of Gerard's final appearances was in the 2016 film The Nice Guys. Mark Ronner, KFI News.
Twinkie was the worst. We'll check the 14 freeway next.
All right, let's talk about American Vision windows, the best windows in the world. We have 8 of them at our house. Thank you very much. Bellio's got a boatload. She hogged them up. She's got 11, so she rules. And then also Gary and Shannon have them, and Neil Saavedra, Michelle Q. We all chose the same company because they are the best. Windows and doors, you can go to the Simi Valley showroom and check them out there. You go to Walmart, go south, and it's on your right-hand side. Simi Valley style directions. You're going to get $250 off every window and free installation. Oh, is that right? $250 off, right? And free installation. Yeah, that's correct. When you buy 4 or more windows. Wow. It's the anniversary gift to you. It's their 25th anniversary, and they're giving you a gift. That's special. So you got to phone them up right now before December 31st, because that deal will come to an end. Phone them up right now, right away, while you're thinking about it. Maybe you're getting one of those military checks. You can throw them into windows. 888-226-9908. 888-226-9908. You're going to get a free consultation, free installation, and $250 off every window when you buy 4 or more before December 31st. Very simple offer, but very valuable. Phone them up right away, 888-226-9908. New customers only. Restrictions apply. Offer expires December 31st. Call or see website for details. AmericanVisionWindows.com. CSL 8778327.
Mostly clear through the night. Cool temperatures. Staying sunny tomorrow and warmer. Maybe 10 degrees in some areas, including downtown. Then cooler again Friday and into the weekend. Right now in Fullerton, 61. Costa Mesa, 55 degrees. Breakdown in Santa Clarita.
This is a stall on the 14th.